You want to invest in teams that do that. So I invested in them as well. I'm just finding, I look at deal flow right now, 45% of my day in looking at new deals is in the crypto space.
You're 3% turning into 10%. Is that something we always hear people talk about, trimming once it gets to a certain level? It seems like your conviction's pretty strong. I have a feeling like you may be adding to that 10% rather than trimming. Is that a policy? Because obviously with some of the funds, is that something that you're doing personally? Does it get to a level where even though we're bullish, we start to trim back a little bit just because we're overweighted? Or how do you play that sort of aspect?
Well, that's a great question. I use the same approach I use to equities and debt. I never let one single position become more than 5% of the portfolio. Never more than a sector ever gets past 20. So I've got a good 10% left to go on crypto. I'm very constructive on crypto. I'm a believer in it. You have to make a binary decision. Either you believe in it, you don't. I'm on board, so I'm investing. But I actually allocated 7% of the capital. But capital appreciation was so strong in the last 2 quarters across a lot of these platforms that it blew right past 10%. I haven't trimmed anything yet because no individual position. My largest right now is Ethereum. But I also own a lot of Solana, a lot of Polygon. Polygon guys I met in Dubai, I was so impressed with their whole technology of aggregating transactions on top of Ethereum and then reducing gas fees or costs dramatically. And any time you can add efficiency, you can reduce friction, reduce costs, be more productive, you want to invest in teams that do that. So I invested in them as well. I'm just finding, I look at deal flow right now, 45% of my day in looking at new deals is in the crypto space. That's almost half. So I'm going to continue to be very constructive in 2022. I'm very excited about innovation there.
And of course, Polygon Matic, that's the name that we've been into a lot. And I bought an NFT the other day, and it was like the price of gas on Ethereum was almost the same as the NFT itself. So I think you're right on some of those plays. A little bit of a personal question, of course, because we were trolling your social media. And when it came up, I was like, oh man, that's a place I want to go to. How was Blue Blood at Casa Loma? What did you have there? I've heard some, good ratings from them. What was your opinion of Blue Blood?
Oh, first of all, I was so impressed with the staff because in the middle of this outbreak of this new, version of COVID, which is very contagious, they had figured out how to lay out that restaurant with plexiglass and everything else. It was just done beautifully. The food there is spectacular. I mean, it is a treasure in Toronto because it's the castle vibe. It's just absolutely spectacular. And the wine list was, and of course I drank too much wine. But I got to tell you, it was because the wine list was so fantastic. Started with, an American cab and then went into a beautiful Montrachet. I mean, the guy that runs that place, Nick and his wife, have done a fantastic job. I mean, he's a great restaurateur, and it reflects in the quality of the staff there. Loved it. I'll be going back for sure. I'm gushing, overflowing because I had a great experience. I brought my whole family. They loved it. Fantastic.
I see one problem, though. My wife is here in the chat, and now I have to take her. So maybe I'll have to get you up with a little reservation there. But that's fantastic. One big question. So I sort of put out a tweet. What did everyone want me to ask you? And really, the main thing that I think is important to us, we have a lot of young, aspiring, what I believe talented individuals in our chat. They bring us great ideas with stocks, things like that. What was your sort of aha moment maybe when you decided, and you always talk about success comes from within, empower yourself, do it yourself. At what stage maybe of your career did you sort of say, you know what, this is what I want to get into? I want to be this businessman. I want to, when did this happen? Was it early? Was it late? Because we do have a lot of different age ranges here on our viewership, and they always are asking, they're trying to get motivated. Sometimes they stumble. Was there an aha moment for you? Did something click? Is there anything you want to talk about maybe on this topic?
Sure. And this is, I think, advice for, all people that, entrepreneurship and working for yourself and becoming an investor has nothing to do with the greed of money. It's all about the pursuit of personal freedom. The reason I do what I do is because I want to be able to choose how I spend my time. I never worked for anybody for most of my life because I got fired when I was a teenager in an ice cream store in Ottawa, Canada. And it was so humbling to realize that woman had such power over me that I never wanted to do it again. And I, of course, have to thank her because she took me on a different journey. It's not for everybody. And there's nothing wrong for working for other people, but I just can't do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to listen to somebody else telling me what to do. it just doesn't make sense to me. I have to decide that for myself. And that took me on my path at a young age. It's not an easy road, but you know what you find out when you get your first deal and you're successful with that, you just work harder. I don't need more money. I need more time, but I love to work with young entrepreneurs. I've got over 35 private companies now. You know, I fly all over the world to meet my CEOs. It's fantastic, and I really enjoy it. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but you know, I met her when I had no money. When we got married, we couldn't even afford, you know, a wedding hall. We had pizza in our house.
Amazing.
I don't think she's complaining right now anymore.
Kevin, you and I are very alike in many, many ways, my friend. Shout out to both our wives. I don't know if yours is watching, mine is, so now I've already talked about that a couple times there. How's the watch collection? I still got the Submariner. I'm trying to make some moves here in the market. I'm trying to get up to your collection. Anything hot for 2022 in the watch game?
Yeah, the breakout brand that went from a micro brand, to now head of the pack in terms of capital appreciation is FP Journe. Right. And FP Journe in 2021 just went insane. And, you know, I happen to be wearing one right now. This is the Putin watch. It's called Le Bleu.
Oh, yeah.
This was an entry-level Journe watch. Just 2 years ago, you could have picked it up for about $17,000, maybe $18,000. Today, you can't buy one for $110,000. That gives you an idea of how the Journe brand has exploded. And it's really the watch to look for. It's going to continue this trend because the Journe Society buys 87% of his pieces. So he's got such a following. And the best way to look at it, if you can get your hands on one, is this is the living Picasso of watchmaking. One day he won't be on Earth anymore. And anything you own that he made when he was alive is going to be worth, you know, he's the Andy Warhol. He's the Picasso. He's the Michelangelo. That guy is walking the earth right now making watches. And if there's any way you can get one, it's worth doing.